Hi, it's so good to see you here. I wanted to share this with you. There's a couple of books. One of them is Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. He maintains that our mind is a cybernetic instrument. And I wanted to share with you a couple of other cybernetic instruments that you're very familiar with. One is a GPS. So let's think of an airplane. Let's say it's leaving Perth and it's programmed for Sydney. So it has its path mapped out. Now, when it leaves Perth, if there are some winds that are not predicted that come up, or if there's air traffic or a number of other conditions, it may deviate from that path. So it may go down towards Esperance and it might be a little bit off track, and the GPS will bring it back on track. It might go up towards the north and then the GPS will bring it back on track. So the GPS is constantly bringing it from being off track to on track, so eventually it gets to its destination. Now, it's a little bit similar to an air conditioner, right? So we've got a remote for our air conditioner. We set it for 24 degrees if you're in Australia and other places that use Celsius, and our end state is 24 degrees. Now we know if it's super hot, so if this is in the Pilbara and it's 44 degrees outside, you might open the door and oh my gosh, it's not 24 degrees in there, it's like 44. So the air conditioner will work really, really, really hard to bring it back to 24. Let's say it is still working really hard and it actually brings it down to 22. It'll then soften up to go back to 24. And again, the door might open, it might go above, it'll come back. So it's not always at 24, but its GPS, or its cybernetic instrument inside of it, its programming, brings it back to 24. So why do you think I might be sharing this with you? Good question. The reason is the GPS that we set our mind to, and bear in mind that this mind might have been programmed under the age of 7, most likely was, and if you haven't upgraded it, you will probably get a similar result to what your parents, your caregivers, whatever the environment was around you. Whether that's a dollar figure, whether that's the status of your relationships, whether it's the status with your children, with your mother, with your father, with your siblings, that programming will present in the GPS. Now, what will happen is we might get better, kind of above our station, I guess, or earn more than we think is capable of people like us. Then we will actively work very hard to kind of get back on track. We might earn less than we want, and we'll work very hard to get back on track. So whatever your programming is here, how you will know is look at your bank balance right now. That will tell you what your programming is. You've either worked really hard to improve what it used to be, or otherwise you've just perpetuated what it was in generations. Remember, there's no right or wrong, right? This is you deciding what you really want, where you want to set your GPS. It's the same with the temperature. It'll work really, really hard to bring it back on track, and it'll ease up if there's an overkill. So one of the things I hear people say is, money doesn't motivate me. I don't care about money. So here's the question. If I say to you, you can go and do your job and nobody's going to pay you because I know money doesn't motivate you, so you can do it for free, how long is that going to last? Yeah? So money does actually motivate. It's just a cultural thing that we often say, oh, money's not that important, money doesn't motivate me, because we don't want to look like money's the only motivator. Now, we know that money is not the only motivator. We know there's motivation, we know there's self-fulfillment, we know there's giving back, there's making a difference. There's a number of reasons why we work, or a number of reasons why we earn money. And money is not the only reason. I get that. However, if we continue to ignore it and say it's not important, and we put in this little box, money's not important, then guess what? If you have too much money, because money is not important, you're going to work really hard to actually bring it back to there's not much money, we've got just enough. Money doesn't buy happiness. Well, if you're feeling particularly happy and you've got lots of money, guess what? Your GPS is going to bring you back to money doesn't buy you happiness. I'm not that happy with the money that I've got. You can change that. This is where your programming really comes in. And this is why we pay so much attention to our subconscious mind when we're setting goals. Because if we don't look at this, and I just ask you the plain questions, what did you achieve? What did you learn? What were the lessons? If we just looked at that on that level and we didn't dig deeper into your subconscious programming and some of the mind works, then you're going to keep on getting what you're doing. Or you're going to say to me, oh, Jill, this is always what I've got. What I really want is a different destination, double my salary, or making my annual salary into a monthly one, or I want to get money coming from property, or I want to get money that I haven't worked per hour for, but I want to get in a different way. That's a different result. But if you haven't actually adjusted your mindset, then your GPS will pull you back to your original destination. Even though you said, oh no, I really want this one. But if you haven't reprogrammed your GPS properly, really properly, and sometimes that takes engineers, and that sometimes that takes very sophisticated work in an airplane or in an air conditioner. But if you haven't actually done that work, then you're going to keep being pulled. Or you might get closer and go, oh, look, I'm on my new path. And then before you know it, you pulled back over here. So this is why we pay so much attention to the mindset and your attitude, your behaviors, and also gratitude. Because remember, if we want to reprogram to a different destination and we start going there, but we're moaning about everything we have to do to get there, guess what? Our other GPS, our old GPS, is just going to switch and go, hang on, I know the route there. We've done that several times. Let's go there, because you were much happier when you were doing that. So this is why we bring gratitude into it as well. Can you see now why we're so precise around mindset, behaviors, focusing what your mind is, reprogramming your mind? Because that is really going to affect where you end up. The most important thing for you to know is, where do you really, really want to be? And if you feel there's resistance inside, then recognize that it could be a different GPS to what you've been set on for most of your life. So look at your earnings and compare it to everybody else in your family. If it's along the same lines, then you know you're on autopilot. If you know that you're actually doing way better than before, then be aware that you may just be above your natural GPS and you may sabotage yourself to get back on. Or maybe you have already reprogrammed, and there's a good chance every time we have an increase in salary, we do reprogram our identity to match with that salary, if it's consistent. But the minute something goes wrong, we are tempted to revert back to original programming. We can talk more about this on the calls, but I wanted to share this with you so that you could actually take some notes and write down where your GPS might have been programmed for in the past, and what you'd like to program it for the future, because you can. It's in your control. Now that you have this awareness, remember, you've done everything you could with the awareness that you had in the past. And even if you don't believe me, it is true. You have done everything you could with what you had. Now you have new awareness, you have new experiences, you've learned different lessons. You can reprogram and up-notch your GPS to whatever you want it to be. And this is the exciting bit. Looking forward to hearing what landed for you today and what you got out of this session right now.